Hi and howdy, sweet friends. Welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I am Courtney. I do food and kitchen content here on YouTube. And if you enjoy cooking videos, grocery hauls, and things of that nature, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and sticking around. It is Saturday when this video is going up, and I typically do a what's for dinner style video. So this week we had 3 amazing meals at my house, and they were definitely more pantry style meals because I had specific things I wanted to use up from my kitchen, but I did try to keep them healthier. So let's dive right in. The first recipe is barbecue bowls. Now I'm using this apple bourbon flavored pork tenderloin, but you could easily do the same thing with some chicken or an unseasoned pork tenderloin. All you would do is just cook it in the slow cooker and then shred it and add some barbecue sauce. You could even use beef if you wanted to, or I don't know, maybe even some turkey or something, some turkey breast. But I had this in my freezer and I really needed to use it. So I just cooked it low and slow in my slow cooker. I didn't add any water there initially or anything, and I just kind of let it roast, which was fine. And it was actually done in about 3 hours and it was perfect. It sliced up, but it was super tender, so delicious. So while that was doing its thing, I decided what goes better with barbecue? Well, not many things go better than some caramelized onions. I don't make these all the time because they're kind of time consuming, but man, are they fabulous. Now, I don't go all out with these, and I can typically have them done in about 20 minutes, so they're not like, you know, top-notch professional caramelized onions. These are my quick and easy weeknight version of caramelized onions. So I throw a little bit of butter and some oil in the skillet. I'm using my garlic oil that I make from scratch, but you can use any kind of oil. It just kind of keeps the butter from burning. And then I sliced up thinly 1 entire onion, and I'm going to saute it. Now I'm showing you there the grain that I'm using. Typically with these bowls, I usually just go with rice because it's easy, but I'm using that quinoa bulgur mix, which is one of my favorite things. Love it, love it, love it. It is made at HEB. I don't know if you can find it anywhere else, but these bowls can be made with anything from roasted potatoes to pasta if you wanted, or rice. Wild rice is a great choice. Any kind of, you know, base for the bowl that you want to use is great. So then I wanted a coleslaw, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit healthier. So I shredded up some cabbage, diced up some carrots. I put a little bit of mayonnaise in my bowl. I added some lemon juice to it for zing, and then a little bit of honey. I'm kind of keeping it on the lighter side. Sugar is not the healthiest thing, but I think if I'm going to make something that has any sweetener in it, I'm going to try to stick with honey just because it is a little better for you than just straight cane sugar. And then I seasoned it with some garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper, and whipped it up and just poured it on top of the shredded cabbage and carrots and let them just kind of hang out on the countertop. This is a quick and easy slaw. It had a lot of crunch to it, which is what we like. It had a nice simple flavor, kind of a fresh flavor. You could use vinegar in place of the lemon juice, but lemon juice is really good for your digestion and things like that. So I wanted to go ahead and just use that. The mayonnaise is definitely not the healthiest thing, but I didn't use a ton of it, and I think it's going to be okay. So here's how the onions are looking. I've let them kind of get to a golden brown. I'm throwing some sherry in there because I have it on hand and it tastes fabulous. You totally don't have to do that. You could even deglaze with a little bit of water if you wanted to, just to kind of get everything off the bottom of the pan and give these onions a little liquid in there to kind of finish the cooking process. But again, these are done in 20 minutes or less. This is not like a top grade caramelized onion. It's a quick and easy one, and it tastes amazing. So there's my grains, my pork, my caramelized onions, my slaw, and I just put some avocado in there because I love avocado. So easy. All right, next are these falafel bowls. I have this falafel mix in my pantry that totally needs to be used up, but you can make falafel from scratch. You could buy it in the freezer section, or you could simply just do like some kind of gyro meat from the freezer section at the store, or some grilled chicken would be great. Any kind of protein you want to throw in there, but I'm using the mix. So I'm going to start off with some tabbouleh. Now I made a ton of that quinoa bulgur mix the night before, so that's going to be the base for my tabbouleh style salad. And I have a little bit of parsley in my fridge that's about to just end its life. It's looking pretty sad, so we're going to use it in this dish. I just kind of minced it up pretty well, and then I'm going to add a little bit of garlic oil because I like my garlic oil, but any kind of olive oil or avocado oil or anything like that, just to loosen up your grains. Now if you don't have grains, you could totally use rice as the base for this. Done that a million times and it's awesome. I've got a cucumber I diced up, some tomato, that parsley, and I had a little bit of mint in my fridge that was also starting to look a little sad, so I went ahead and used up what was left of that. And we're just going to make this a nice fresh tabbouleh style salad, which is going to be like the grain base for our bowl. Oh my gosh, this was amazing. Now, I am a huge fan of tabbouleh just like on a regular day, so I plowed through this bowl of tabbouleh style salad for the rest of the week. It has been my lunch along with the homemade hummus that I'm about to show you. I love it. Just some tabbouleh and hummus and like some kind of pita bread or flatbread makes my day. So I do have a lemon there, and it's a huge lemon, so I'm just going to squeeze half of it in here. If you have a regular sized lemon, just use the whole thing. But this guy was large, so half of a lemon was great. We just want a little bit of that, you know, citrus burst in here to really brighten up the salad. And of course, you want to add some salt and pepper in there. But you really keep this pretty simple, and it is just amazing. I love tabbouleh. It's so light and so fresh and so vibrant, and it's perfect for this time of year because like down here in Texas, it's really starting to warm up, and this is a nice, cool, refreshing salad, but it does have a lot of grains and stuff in it to really bulk it up. And of course, if you pair it with some hummus, you definitely have a lot of protein going on in there, and this will keep you full for a while. And again, we're going to use these in our falafel bowls, and falafel is the one I'm using, I think is actually made with a chickpea base, which is what I've made from scratch in the past as well. So that's one of my favorite things. I love falafel. It took me a long time to find a good recipe for it, but I had this box mix that just needs to be used up because I don't want to waste it. All right, on to the hummus. This is so easy. I throw this together sometime in my kitchen just so I can have it for lunches. I've got 1 can of drained chickpeas, but go ahead and reserve the juice. I think it's called aquafaba in the cooking world, but this stuff is great because it's packed full of flavor. It has an interesting consistency to it. It will really help your hummus like whip up in a light, airy way. So instead of adding a whole ton of olive oil in here or any other kind of oil, we're going to use just the bean juice in here. Great flavor, and it kind of gets us the texture and consistency that we're looking for. So I squeezed the other half of my lemon in there. Again, if you have normal sized lemons, just do 1 whole one, but these were just massive. And I just kind of squeezed it over my hand to catch any seeds because I don't want seeds in here. Then I added in about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm throwing in some of my confit garlic. The recipe for that is always linked down below in the description box. It's my favorite condiment. I make it from scratch. That's what gives me my garlic oil as well. But I threw in a bunch of that. You could just use a couple of cloves of fresh garlic in there, and that'd be fabulous. And then I'm just going to pour in a couple of tablespoons of tahini. I love this stuff. It's just sesame seed paste. Think peanut butter, but with sesame seeds and a little bit more oil. I love the flavor of it because I'm like a big fan of any kind of like nut butter situation. I like peanut butter. Oh my gosh, just love it. So this is one of my favorites, so I poured a lot in there, but really you only need like 3 or 4 tablespoons. And then I'm going to add in some salt and some pepper. I like to go super heavy with the pepper just because I really like the flavor that it brings, but you can kind of judge for yourself how much pepper you want. And of course, if you go to the grocery store, there's all kinds of mix-ins that they have for hummuses now. So if you wanted to throw in like some olives or some red peppers or everything but the bagel seasoning, it's totally up to you. And then I just start adding in a little bit of the bean juice that I reserved from the can. And then I will put this in my food processor and let it go. And I'll add more of the bean juice as needed to reach the texture I want. But it whips up light and airy when you use that bean juice. You can see this is the texture I like. I don't like it too thick. I like it just a little bit creamier. And this is perfect for me. So this is going to be awesome in our grain bowl. All right, over to the stovetop. I did use this box mix right there that's been hanging out in my pantry. So I'm showing you how it turned out. You just mix it with water and let it sit for like 2 hours. And it's very soft, very, very soft. I wouldn't buy this again, but I just took a cookie scoop and then shaped my little patties like that. And then over at the stovetop, I had a little bit of oil. It wanted me to use a lot more than this, and I was trying not to use a whole ton of oil, so I just put a couple of tablespoons in there, and then we're going to cook these on both sides, and they get absolutely golden brown and crispy and delicious. This was very good, but I still prefer the ones that I've made in the past. I'll see if I can find that video and link it below, but it was an air fryer version that I made from scratch, and they were absolutely amazing. And again, you don't have to cook them in any oil, so I feel like they were even healthier than this. Now for tonight's meal, you can see I am going totally meatless, but again, I'm just using up what I have on hand. You could always do some kind of grilled chicken or a Greek marinated chicken or any other meat that you have. I mean, I even think some seafood would be really good on here. Cook some salmon with a little bit of lemon juice and dill on it and throw it in one of these bowls. Absolutely fabulous. I think it'd be amazing. But I wanted to use this stuff up. And again, I'm a huge fan of falafel. Even though I say that I like my homemade better, this was still really good, and it definitely hit the spot for me. I don't live somewhere where I can go get this at any kind of takeout restaurant. which is just totally sad for me because I love it so much. So if I want this, I have to make it from scratch. There is some available at HEB in the freezer section, but I actually didn't care for it. The texture was a little bit off for me. It was very, very dry. So if I want it, I gotta make it. And I had attempted with this box mix. I purchased it last time I was at a specialty store, but I'm just gonna stick with my recipe. But there it is. I pour a little tahini on my falafel, but you don't have to do that. And I made some pickled onions, homemade, but you can buy those from the store or not use them at all. It's totally up to you. It's really simple, just some water, vinegar, sugar, and salt. Boil it so it dissolves and pour it over your onion and let it set for a couple hours. Okay, the final recipe is Swedish meatballs, which I know don't sound totally healthy, but I'm actually doing a lot of things to reduce some of the fat in here. Now, I am using some ground pork and some ground beef mixed together because I have this ground pork just hanging out in my freezer. And this is actually what I bought it for, to make meatballs, so I need to use some of it because it's just chilling in there. So I'm gonna mix these together, but you could just as easily make this with like ground turkey or ground chicken or something like that. I'm just using up what I have on hand. So I'm going to link the original recipe down below, but I am making a couple of changes in it just to kind of make it a little bit lighter. So I'm going to mix my meat together with 1 egg. I'm using a fork because it kind of breaks the meat up really, really well and helps me to incorporate it without smashing it. That way the meat kind of still holds some of its texture, which is preferable when you're making like patties and meatballs and things like that. And I know this sounds like it's going to be one of those long recipes, but these did not take very long to throw together at all. I think you'll see that they come together very quickly and it's an easy meal to make. So if you've got some of the stuff in your freezer and pantry, which I bet you do, then you're going to be able to throw this together pretty quickly. So now we're going to go ahead and add some breadcrumbs in here. This is our binder. Now, if you are using a leaner meat like a ground chicken or ground turkey, add in a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. I'm not, so I don't need to do that. We're going to season this with some salt and pepper, some garlic powder, some onion powder, some allspice, and some nutmeg. Again, I'll link the original recipe down below. I did use their measurements for spices and seasonings in this. Okay, I might have gotten a little heavy-handed with the garlic and onion. I'm not sorry about that. I think it needs that extra flavor, but you can make it the way you see fit. And then I just got this all mixed together, again with my fork so that it doesn't really mash the meat too much. It kind of holds its texture and you'll get a better product in the end. When you mash it all together, it kind of gets a little tougher when you cook it. So I just recommend doing it this way if you can. Oh, and I did sprinkle some dried parsley in there just because I like the color and the pop of it in these meatballs. But once these are all mixed, you can cook these in the air fryer if you want it to, or you can cook them on the stove top. For me, because I'm making a large batch so that we can freeze some, I find it easier to just do them in the oven. So I've lined a baking sheet with some parchment paper, and then I've got my cookie scoop, my small cookie scoop, and I'm just gonna scoop the little meatballs out on the cookie sheet first, and then I'll go through and roll each of them by hand. Now, you could totally just cook them without rolling them. I've done that in the past when I'm in a hurry. It actually doesn't matter. Then they get these cool little craggly bits on the side that are kind of crunchy and delicious and bring some amazing texture. So that one's totally up to you. For the sake of the video today, I did go ahead and roll them just so they looked a little bit prettier, but again, you don't have to do that. You can skip that step and save that time, and it's not a big deal. It's still going to taste amazing. So there I am rolling them. It doesn't take that long, you know, but I mean, I probably could have saved 3 or 4 minutes that way. We'll get these all rolled, and then again, I'm just going to bake them in my oven. I'm not putting any oil on them or anything. Even if you're doing them in the air fryer, I advise if you're using a ground beef pork mixture, not putting any kind of oil on them. Now, if you're using a leaner meat like a ground chicken or a ground turkey, you might just spray them with a little cooking spray so that they do brown nicely and get a little bit of color. But overall, you don't actually have to do that if you don't want to. It just will yield a better product for your leaner meat. And in the oven they go, 400 degrees for like 20-ish minutes. And I'm going to serve them over this cauliflower riced risotto medley. This stuff on its own is not fabulous. I was actually pretty disappointed by how bland it was, but we're going to dress it up with this sauce that we're going to make in a minute. So traditional Swedish meatball sauce is pretty rich and creamy. Not that it's not delicious, because it totally is, but we want to cut a few calories. So I've got almost a tablespoon of butter, and then I put some of my garlic oil in the pan, just again to keep this from burning. We're gonna let that kind of melt for a minute and add a little flour in there to make a roux. Now, if you wanna cut some extra calories, instead of making the roux, you could totally just make a cornstarch slurry in the end and mix it into the rest of your ingredients. But I don't mind doing this step, and I kind of feel like it tastes a little bit better. So that one's totally up to you. If you're looking to save more calories, that's a great way to do it though. I'm gonna let this just kind of cook for a couple of minutes just to get that flour taste out. Now, anytime you're making a roux, if it's gonna be a sauce, I highly recommend adding any of your dried spices in at this step because it gives them a minute to toast. So dried spices are usually a lot older and kind of stale when you use them. Not that they taste bad, but you can really give them a more vibrant flavor and bring them back to life if you toast them. And this is a perfect time to do this for this sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in my pepper and my garlic and onion powder. I'm not putting any salt in here because we're gonna be adding some beef broth in a minute, and I use bouillon, which is very, very salty. Anytime I'm adding bouillon to anything, I usually skip adding any salt to it just because it's so salty on its own. But if you're using any other kind of broth that is not salty, you might wanna go ahead and add some salt in here as well. So there's my bouillon. Again, I'm gonna toast this as well. We're adding in 3 cups of broth or water in my case, but even toasting your bouillon kind of helps a little bit because it has a lot of other things in there besides just like dehydrated meat powder. It's got some seasonings and spices in there, so it really wakes them up a bit. And then I added in my 3 cups of water, and I'm just gonna be like real diligent with whisking this for the first minute or two, just to make sure it doesn't clump up. Then I'm going to keep an eye on it and continue whisking it periodically for the next few minutes while it comes up to a simmer, and you'll see it just start to thicken. This is not going to be thick like a white gravy would. It's going to be a lot more similar to like a brown gravy, a little bit more liquidy. I did add in some Worcestershire sauce for some flavor, and then it calls for some Dijon mustard. I have this grainy Dijon mustard, which I really, really like. So I've been using that in place of just regular Dijon. And then the recipe also calls for sour cream. Now the recipe says full fat sour cream, I believe, but I'm using low fat light sour cream because we're cutting some more calories. So you can use whatever you choose in there, but if you're looking to cut calories, this is where you can do it. We're not putting any heavy cream or anything in here. We're cutting as many calories as we can and still having a really good meal. So there is my sour cream, and we're just gonna whisk that in. And our sauce is done. It's nice and creamy without heavy cream or full fat sour cream or anything like that. We cut back on the amount of butter in there. So overall, we've definitely shaved a lot of fat and calories out of this recipe, and we're going to be serving it over that cauliflower rice as well. So in the end, these Swedish meatballs are way less fattening than usual. And there it is. This was actually very, very tasty and very delicious. I was really thrilled with how it came out, and I didn't miss all the extra ingredients. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. All the recipes are listed or linked down below. And if you are interested in my canning journey, I will have a video up tomorrow because I did can some beans, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I'll see you on Tuesday for my grocery haul. Have a great one, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.